So, snake plant I could understand. You know, they kind of look like snakes, I guess, because of their shape, right? But mother-in-law's tongue? I mean, why not call it father-in-law's tongue or mother or father's tongue for people who have mommy and daddy issues? Hi everyone, it's Melissa, your plantita abogada here at Tasteful Notes, coming to you today with a Sansevieria episode. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it rolls off the tongue, so we're going with it. So Sansevierias are quite stylish and forgiving, and you see them in a lot of homes and offices. They kind of bring, I guess, a modern vibe or modern aesthetic to any place you put them in, just because of their structures. I mean, they're elegant, they're long, and unique. Before we jump into anything though, I would like to run through my 3 disclaimers really quickly, just because we've got some stoners on the table and I want to make sure nobody is misled, okay? So 1, KKB tayo, kanya-kanyang bayad. For our Westerner friends, that means we each pay our own way. So I'm going to show some pretty awesome plants today, some really pricey Sansevierias today. We're not going to spend our rent money. We're going to be responsible adults, and we're going to save up or try to figure out how to get these guys if there's anything here that you do see that you need to have, okay? Number 2, I'm not an expert in Sansevierias or plants for that matter. I'm a hobbyist just like you. I'm a lawyer by training, and I do a lot of research, and that's what I'm sharing with you today is stuff that I've actually found online. So any factual information that I do share with you, I'll be sure to put the source at the bottom of the screen. If I don't share any sources at the bottom of the screen, you can understand that those are my personal observations from my own experiences in raising these plants. And number 3, do find the people in your area who are knowledgeable in these plants, experts if you will, where to find them in your area, how they do in your area, how to raise them. Yeah, these are the people you want to find. So I could provide you general information, but it would be best to get information specific to your areas from people in the know in your areas. Okay? Fantastic. So let's begin this episode by discussing a little bit of the history with Sansevierias. These guys have been known by a few different names. So there's one where it's hemp bow plant, something along those lines. That's because the fibers of the Sansevieria are actually quite strong. It's also known under the name snake plant because of its elegant shape, kind of reminiscent of snakes. Not this guy. I mean, he's a whole different animal altogether, pun intended. There is the more popular common name of mother-in-law's tongue, which is a little derogatory towards mother-in-laws. I love mine dearly. And although mother-in-laws have a reputation of having sharp tongues, she isn't one of them. So it's not a name that I'm fond of for this plant. Finally, the more, I guess, worrisome name for many collectors, especially people like me who've been using the name Sansevieria forever, is Dracaena. The name Dracaena is problematic because Dracaena is its own genus in itself, much like Sansevieria was, okay, hint, just a few years ago. So in 1753, these guys were even placed under the aloe genus. So there's been a lot of confusion as to where to put them, where they belong, and it had been argued for the longest time that Sansevierias actually belong to the genus Dracaena. This is because, much like aroids, I mean, if you're an aroid person, you probably understand where I'm coming from. You look at similarities between plants. So you look at leaves, you look at growth patterns, you look at flowers and fruits, and that's where it came. The flowers and the fruits of Dracaenas and Sansevierias were quite similar. That's what gave, I guess, early proponents of the movement behind moving Sansevieria to Dracaena some ammo. The Sansevierias flowers and fruits look like Dracaena's flowers and fruits, therefore Sansevieria must be Dracaena. Well, the argument lasted for a few decades. So at some point, and this is just in the recent past, the Royal Botanic Gardens Kew actually got involved in this and supplied DNA for modern genome sequencing testing. Yes, DNA testing. We DNA tested well, not us, but somebody DNA tested Sansevierias. And the result of that, I think I gave you guys a hint already. The result is that in 2017, Sansevierias were moved into the genus Dracaena. So big, huge win for people who've been arguing that for decades, and kind of a loss, a little bit of a loss for people like us who have been using the Sansevieria name. And I guess that's what I learned it as. So it kind of stuck with me a little bit, which is fine, right? I could call it Dracaena, no problem. But it kind of loses that its identity in a way. The reason why Sansevierias were moved into the Dracaena genus rather than the other way around is quite simple. And that's because Dracaenas came along first. So let me check my notes real quick. So what I have here is that Dracaena was first published to botanical literature in 1767, and Sansevieria was published in 1794. So if modern genome sequencing actually showed that they all belong to aloe, both of these guys would be adopted under the aloe genus, because aloes were way ahead of either Dracaena or Sansevieria. However, that's not the case. So Dracaena came first. It's kind of like the legal doctrine in property law where first in time, first in right. So while Sansevierias have been moved into the Dracaena genus, there are some who still hold on to the name Sansevieria and do so as a means of, I guess, trying to maintain some sort of differences between Sansevierias and Dracaenas. Their line of reasoning is that there are specific differences between Sansevierias and Dracaenas that just have to be noted. Therefore, they want that Sansevieria name to stay, even if it's not a genus anymore. These differences, in a way, kind of prove that Sansevierias are not your garden variety Dracaena. Pun intended again. So for people who cannot accept Dracaena or will not accept Dracaena, like I said, it's not a big deal. It's still okay to note that, there are differences. Royal Botanic Garden Kew actually still identifies and still accepts Sansevieria as a synonym to Dracaena. So end of that. Okay. Yeah, it was kind of a shocker trying to research some content for this and finding out that my beloved Sansevierias were no longer their own genus, but were Dracaenas. Another interesting thing, and it's been reported through, I guess, articles, and I think I may have seen it on the news. Sansevierias are supposedly air cleaners, but this is old news. So a research study by NASA in the 1970s found that certain common houseplants, Sansevierias among others, because we're not talking about the others, can remove pollutants from the air, such as formaldehyde, benzene, ammonia, and they can remove it from the air within rooms, so smaller areas. And I guess we need further studies to see just how many Sansevierias you need to have in a room in order to make a, I guess, noticeable difference in how much benzene, formaldehyde, and ammonia you have in your surroundings, right? But that study does exist. It's a study that has been recognized by Royal Botanic Garden Kew. I guess one of the things that I enjoy about Sansevieria moving to Dracaena is that it's a pretty awesome name in its own right. Dracaena in Greek stands for female dragon. Heck yeah! Snake plant and female dragon. Anyway, so I have a few varieties here on the table. Let me go ahead and name them really quick. This one is Sansevieria francesii. Francesii, yes. Me and my names. So, this guy's really cool. When I first got him, it was in 2017 or 2018. And he was a little itty bitty guy. And he stood upright. And as time passed, I started getting into aeroids. And one day I see him flat on the ground on the table in the greenhouse. And I'm like, oh no, my poor plant is dying. No, my poor plant isn't dying. My poor plant is a drama queen. So if you don't give it stuff to stabilize it, to hold it up, because you see it will grow upright, it'll just do its thing. It'll just go down and then find its way back up, and then, you know, as it gets longer. So if you check out Instagram, you will see some perfect specimens which are standing completely upright, which I'm positive that they already, you know, prepared with stakes to hold it up. But I kind of enjoy his appearance now. Quite stunning, to be honest. This guy, it is actually known as the whalefin Sansevieria. It is Sansevieria masoniana, or Dracaena masoniana, if you prefer to know it that way. This one is a variegated variety. I don't know if you can see the green on green variegation here. Some of the other leaves have very, very small amounts of yellow, but this guy is pretty stunning with that green on green variegation that you see here. I actually had planted this in the ground, so I've got a whole bunch right outside one of the greenhouses and right over here in the grotto area, and they're huge, just giant, and quite exciting to look at. I mean, I never get tired of the appearance, you know, the whale flippers. Pretty cool guy. I don't want to use up our entire time talking about all of the different kinds of Sansevierias I have on the table. So this guy right here is a Sansevieria white royal crown, and it is going to be a stunner when it grows up. It will just be huge. It's going to be even fuller, but the variegation for this, I think, is what makes it special, because it gives it an extra oomph, if you want to say it that way. And with that pot, I mean, it's just one of my favorites. He actually lives outdoors, so rain or shine, that's that plant. He's fine. This guy is really special. I really wanted to show him off just because he's huge and he does really well. He gets morning sun, full morning sun, and then no afternoon sun, and then he also gets rained on. You know, he's out there in the gazebo area. Don't know his ID because I got it at one of those markets where they just said snake plant. This is why knowing your plants' names and putting little tags are important, because you need to know their IDs so you can share it with people, right? It's going to be kind of hard for you to find this plant when all you have to go by is snake plant. Now, going back to this guy, a really special guy. This guy is a hybrid from Glan's Ang, who is one of the best hybridizers here in the Philippines. Really cool guy. This is a Sansevieria Saiyan. If you are a 90s kid and remember Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, this is that plant. So it's named Saiyan because it looks like their hair when they turn Super Saiyan. You know, it's all, yeah. We didn't need to go there, but yeah, I did that for you. As it matures, it gets even more Saiyan-y look-alike. So you've got that big hair looking thing going on with this plant. Really special. Now, oh, this one's from Glan's Ang too. It's a flamingo, and if you have a look at the bottom, it's another hybrid, but if you have a look at the bottom, a close look at the bottom, it's got like a pinkish orange bottom where all of the leaves come out. It's just such an attractive plant to look at. That's why in the beginning I said that these plants are stylish and modern, because there are so many different varieties that you can go for just to achieve the aesthetic that you're looking for. So you can go for the masoniana, the whalefin. I mean, just beautiful broad leaves, still succulent feeling, really hard. You could go for the Francesii, who is just a work of art on its own, finding its own way. You could go for any of the variegated ones if variegated is your thing. We've got 1, 2, 3 variegated Sansevierias on the table, and there are many, many more out there. You could also go for the structural looking Sansevierias, you know, these guys. So there is a Sansevieria out there for everyone. This segment, I would like to go into care of Sansevierias. Yeah, these plants are great for people who have busy lifestyles or who are fairly new to plants, along with, you know, people who are collectors. But we're not going to worry about the collectors, because the collectors should know what they're doing at this point. For people who are busy or who are fairly new to plants, these tips are for you. We're going to discuss lighting, we're going to discuss soil, watering, and then we're going to discuss common problems. Now, regarding lighting, the light here is actually quite perfect except when it's summer. Arid or aroid collectors, a lot of friends reported that their plants burned this past summer. And a lot of my Sansevierias, the Misonianas, burned at the grotto. So for lighting, this is my best suggestion to you. In the summer, I wouldn't even go past 10 a.m. to be honest, just because of how bad it is here. But during rainy season, these guys are doing great at the grotto area. For sunlight, I would do bright indirect light. So that would probably be the best growing conditions rather than complete shade under a tree. I would definitely try to avoid full afternoon sun if possible. With these guys, they don't like sitting in water. They don't. So it's best to have a well-draining but organic mix. You're going to want to actually have a mix of garden soil with some pumice or perlite, maybe 50-50 of each. Or you can get a cactus mix and supplement that, a commercial cactus mix. When you do pot these guys, you want to make sure that there are drainage holes, because under no circumstances should these guys be a water plant. You know, don't let them sit in water. It won't work. These guys are cool as far as underwatering. As far as watering concerned, one thing that you want to remember is that water is not in this plant's love language. You know, less is best with these guys. I know I said I have them out in, you know, the elements, but they are in well-draining soil, well-draining mixes. So I trust that. However, if you're not too sure about your mix just yet, water sparingly. So we just discussed the care of Sansevierias through lighting, soil, and watering. Now, I said that they're resilient. I said that they're hard to kill, but they're not indestructible, and I've killed a few of them myself. And what I'm about to tell you right now is based on my personal observations on things that have happened to my Sansevierias. So remember earlier when I told you I've been collecting since 2017 or 2018? Yeah, so the pandemic happened, right? And we were living in Manila at that point. All my plants were in Manila, and we were not in Manila. And we had to have our housekeeper take care of my plants. I think a good 50% of my entire collection of plants, aroids and arids, all died, including a lot of Sansevierias. It's too late by the time they were brought to me. But let's go ahead and discuss potential problems for these guys. One is overwatering. You will know when you overwater when they start turning mushy or yellow and the plant is doing poorly. Leaves are turning yellow. I would go ahead and check that thing first of all for pests. If you don't see anything suspicious, I would check the roots. My guess would be root rot, because these guys tend to be prone to root rot. Overwatering can be fixed. So what I would do is I would try to get it into a grittier mix. If you tend to be heavy-handed when it comes to watering, that's fine. You know, some of us are just born water benders. It's fine. Just adjust your mix to your watering style. So grittier mixes, less organic stuff, nothing to hold the water in. Second thing I would do is, if your plant is a goner from the base, including the roots, I would just chop. Sometimes if you could cut cleanly far enough where there isn't any rot, there might be a chance for the plant to survive. Get it into a grittier mix, because you know you are a water bender, and just try to salvage the top part of the plant. If everything is gooey and melting in the center, try leaf cuttings. I've seen video of people sticking their Sansevieria leaves in water and seeing them root that way. I've seen cuttings where people cut and just stick it in soil. That works that way. These guys are easy. They're not too hard to take care of. So when I saw my plants in Manila, finally, and you just see the plant dying, I mean, you just see like the remains of it. It just plopped in the pot. My guess, it was likely overwatering, which is funny because some of my aroids died too, and those guys love water. So, I mean, I really can't tell what my housekeeper did. Very nice lady, but like she was the angel of death for my plants. Now, remember what I said about checking your plant for pests. It would be mealybugs, scales, spider mites, and caterpillars. So let's start with caterpillars because those jerks. So this little tuk-tuk guy, I was going to auction off one of his babies. He has two. And this is the bigger one. The other one's like tiny, yay big, right? But as I was preparing for this episode yesterday, I went outside and grabbed it from its little covered area. And I noticed that it had all of these little green circles on it, right? And I'm like, what in the world? I've been doing a lot of research for another episode, and it terrified me seeing that. And then I saw the caterpillar, and the caterpillar had eaten the new growth of both babies. So both babies are missing the core and the new growth. And I'm just beside myself because I was supposed to auction off these babies for a good cause, and I didn't catch that caterpillar in time. It's sad. So caterpillars are easy to find. The caterpillars here in the Philippines, I would not touch because the one time I did touch them, I got spikes in my hand and on my arm. It was horrible. It's like cactus spikes, it felt like it. So if you do find a caterpillar on your Sansevieria, grab a pair of tweezers or tongs, move that guy, okay? Mealybugs. Those guys are those white pieces of fluff that you see. You know, they're a pain to deal with when it comes to Sansevierias just because they have the tendency to go into like little nooks and crannies on the plant. They're easy enough to deal with though. I would get a Q-tip with some alcohol and just squish them and wipe away. Squish them and wipe away. The nice thing about them is that if you don't let the infestation go too far, they're easy to take care of. That's assuming that we're inspecting our plants, which I hope you guys are doing, okay? Just enjoy your plants and, you know, check them out. Make sure there aren't any pests anywhere. So that when you do find like the random mealybug or two, you could handle that. Now I said caterpillars, mealybugs, mites. Oh, spider mites. Yeah, I don't like those guys. I used to get them on my philodendron verrucosum all the time. Oh, man. So what I use here is a rooster shampoo. The shampoos, it contains an ingredient against mites because roosters apparently are also prone to mites. So that's what I use, is a rooster shampoo when I have spider mites. So I would prepare the shampoo as advised on the label, wash the plant down, and then rinse. And then I would keep an eye out for more spider mites because they're a pain in the butt. They are. And then the last pest that I referred to was scales. And those guys, they love my Monstera Thai constellation. Thankfully, I don't think I have experienced scales on my arids, but my aroids, that Thai constellation is a scale magnet. They're easy enough to deal with too, but like spider mites, you might have to retreat again after observation of a few days. So with scale, I make a mixture of neem oil and with Castile soap, and I just spray it on. I get a toothbrush. After a few minutes of leaving that spray on the plant, just scrape off the scales with a toothbrush, hose the plant down, keep it in a shaded area. If you put it in sunlight, it's gonna burn. See, I baby my plants, so as soon as I'm done taking care of them, they need to go rest. I put them under a tree and, you know, make sure that they're nice and shaded. So I haven't really gotten burned by anything yet, but I have heard of instances where people did leave them in places they thought were safe and they still got hit by sun and burned. So keep that in mind. You want to rinse your plants well. You want to make sure that they don't get burned. If you have to treat, the best time to probably do it is in the afternoon, late afternoon or evening when there is no sunlight. So after you rinse your plant, you could just let your plant dry and hopefully the next morning you rinsed well enough that there wouldn't be any residue left. And that is our Sansevieria episode. I hope you enjoyed the information I got to share with you about these plants. I love them. I do. And I'll keep adding to them whenever I find plants that interest me, really. If you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, click that notification bell so you get notified of future content. If you have any questions about anything that I discussed, or if you want to know IDs of the plants on the table, feel free to leave me a comment in the comment section and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you need more content than my once a week videos, check me out on Facebook. I am there as Tasteful Nodes. And finally, if you just want to scroll through pretty pictures right before you go to bed, check me out on Instagram. I'm there as Tasteful Nodes as well. Okay guys, until next time, sa uulitin, keep your notes classy and tasteful. Bye.